Hello and welcome. So, given the circle below with a lot of information here that AE and DC are diameters, meaning that they go from one side of the circle to the other while passing through the center. Okay, we're also told that angle AED is 43 degrees. So we go to A to E to D, which means we're talking about that angle right there in the bottom, and that is 43 degrees. Okay, and it wants us to find all of this other information. So in order to do that, we got to know a few things. We got to know the definitions of a central versus an inscribed angle. All right, a central angle is an angle that's literally formed at the center of a circle. And the property of a central angle is that the measure of the arc from that central angle is going to be the exact same thing. So if the have some kind of x angle, x is the measure of the central arc. So for example, if you have 40 degrees was the central angle, the measure of the arc is also 40 degrees. Alright, inscribed angles have this double half relationship, where instead, when we follow out our two segments to the arc, right, the arc is going to be double whatever the angle is. So, for example, if this was 30 degrees here, then our inscribed angle would be 6 degrees. The measure of the arc from the inscribed angle would be 60 degrees. Alright, so the arc is always double what the angle is. Now you know it's an inscribed angle when you can see the angle being formed at a point on the circumference of the circle. So central angle at the center, inscribed angle on the circumference of the circle on the outside. Alrighty, so let's find out all the information we possibly can here. So this 43 degrees, right? We know it came from A and D, those 2 points, which means that this is the measure of the arc related to 43. It's not in the center of the circle, so it's an inscribed angle, so we have the double the angle to get the arc. Alright, so 43 times 2, 86. So there's the measure of our arc there, and now we can just keep going, right? We can finish filling in a lot of this information. I'd say, okay, well, now once we know that, let's look at the other section. How can we use this diameter to find more for us? Well, think about it. A diameter slices a circle essentially in half. Right? Whenever you have a diameter, that's going to be always half of your circle. And if the entire circle is 360 degrees, that means half of it is 180 degrees. The whole thing is 180. And if we know that just this section alone is 86, and that means the remaining section has to be the 180 minus 86, which means this is 94 degrees. Alright, so let me take off some of those highlights. So that's 86, and this is going to be 94. Alright, so that also helps us there, and then we can immediately kind of use central angles. If the measure of that is 94, then that means the central angle relating to that arc is also 94 degrees. Okay, we also know that the central angle for our 86 is, our arc of 86 will be the measure of 86 as well. Okay, and we can use that 180 property to also find literally everything else in the circle, right? Because here's another diameter, which means that this should also be 180 degrees. Well, if we know it's 86, this is also 94 degrees, which means this is also 94 degrees. And you notice that'll be true for another reason, right? This is a vertical angle pair, which is why they're equivalent, why they're both 94 degrees. Which means that this should also be 86 degrees, which means this is also 86 degrees by central angle properties. Okay. You also could have used another 180 degrees to find that 94 and 86. Okay, that also would have worked. Or you could have used the diameter this direction, and you could have found it that 86 another way like that. Okay, and then we can find all of our inscribed angles, right? We have an inscribed angle at each of those places. We can find those as well. So if I wanted to find this inscribed angle over here, well, follow out the segments and then connect the arc. So if the arc is 86, the angle is half. It's 43. Which makes sense why it's the same as this angle, because they both relate to the same arc, right? Same arc, same angle. Okay, and then we'll notice that this bottom one is 86, which means that these two angles, they both share the same arc again, and we already know that half of 86 is 43, so those should all match as well. And that's it. That's all of the information for the circle we can possibly find. So now let's just fill in this information. So first it says the angle of ACD. So ACD, we're talking about that angle. We said it was 43 degrees. All right, next we have the measure of angle ABD. So A to B are center D. And we said that was 86 degrees. All right, so that angle right there. Okay, now we have 3 arcs to look at. The arc from A to D. All right, so here's A, here's D. We said the arc was 86 degrees. The next one is the arc from D to E, which will be that arc right there. We said was 94. All right, then we have the measure of the arc CDA. I'm going to clear the other highlights to make this really easy to see for this one. We have to go in order of the letters, so C first, then D, then A. So we start at C. We can't go this direction because we can't hit A next, which means we go C to D to A. That is the arc that it's referring to. What you'll notice is the arc of our, let me use a different color, 86, plus the arc of our 94, plus the arc of our other 86. So we could find it 2 ways. We could say that the measure of arc CDA is going to be equal to 86 plus 94 plus 86. Right, so 2 times of the 86 plus the 94, and you get 266 degrees. Okay, or you'll notice that that blue arc is essentially everywhere except that last section right there. You could also find it by doing 360, the whole circle, minus just that last part, the 94. And then you end up also with 266. There are either ways, whatever way is easiest for you to find that, you could do either way on that one. But that's it. That is your final answer and you're done. Now keep in mind as you're putting this in, you don't need the degree symbol like what I have written, just the numbers will be fine on that. And there you have it. Everything solved. Thanks for watching.